Hey everyone, I hope most of you watching knew about the channel Bald and Bankrupt. You might have watched a couple of videos, but if you used to be an avid fan, then you more than likely know about his history, especially with his main motive for making the videos. But with someone like me that had a surface level understanding of him, it was incredibly funny seeing all the stuff he got into, traveling to different countries. I had no idea he was this lust driven. With some of the clips shown here, he acts and sounds like a 20-year-old guy who's going to die soon, but he wants to have one last fun trip. Also, the fact that he's the most stereotypical sounding British guy makes it way funnier because of his voice and just his manner of speech. But when you go on such an escapade, especially around Russia, it's only natural that you get arrested for something dumb that's completely your fault, which he found excuses for, but when it comes to his fans or commenters criticizing him, he'll just be as blunt as possible and say that he does not care. Had I been a long-running fan of him, I'd probably be used to this, but as is, it was still so bizarre.
Bald and Bankrupt is one of the website's most fascinating YouTubers. He gains over 1 million views per video by traveling to extremely isolated areas. However, with accusations of credit card fraud, unexplained court cases, and most notably controversial behavior toward women, to say he has a hidden dark side would be putting it pretty lightly.
I read a link that said Russophile.
To say he has
I guess you could call him Russophile. Most of the time he did go to like Eastern Europe, so that'd be fair, yeah.
His very first video titled I Love India's Policewomen, in which he spends roughly 3.5 minutes firstly swooning over female cops.
I saw what at first appeared to be a mirage, but they were no mirage. They were Indian traffic cops, and they were beautiful.
Before filming some pretty
I love British men that followed the heels for foreign women. I saw it was a bloody mirage.
In fact, I'd often stop to ask needless directions just to see their smiles up close, maybe feel a slight hint of their breath on my skin.
Many of the videos comments echoed,
That's so funny.
I knew it, I'm not the creepiest man alive. However,
Oh, he liked it, what a cook.
upload, there was no denying the footage was interesting, especially to a Western.
There was definitely like, if that video, okay, if it was 3 minutes long of him like talking to women, like the police, there was definitely like 10 minutes cut of him like asking like how much would it cost, you know, for a night. Absolutely.
Similarly interesting culture shock footage like a $1 Indian gym, Mumbai's largest slum, and a stolen item market. Bald and Bankrupt
Take me to your finest, please, women.
while maintaining his vocal love for the opposite sex.
There's two things that I like in life, markets and women. And here I've come to the world's only all-women's market.
This guy would have been like an incredible merchant in like the 1600s.
Oh, sexy little things in their hijab. I'm a little bit scared to flirt.
What went past him for him to be like, oh, beautiful women?
Bald's comments became
Oh,
much
just,
more
you know.
expressive.
Oh, sexy little things in their hijab. I'm a little bit scared to flirt. I do like a woman in a hijab. Is the hijab one when you just see the eyes? It's very sexy when you just see the eyes. These are lots.
He would definitely be the kind of guy that would have like a bachelor's in like religious studies, just to have like every tidbit of knowledge for like these kind of women.
Since they were nested in highly interesting videos, nobody seemed to give them a second thought.
I found someone who's looking for girls like me. Where are the girls at? Let's find some chicks.
Excluding what seemed to be one single person who wrote, maybe one thing this channel is missing is a little bit more respect for women. They're either pretty so they're like objects and creepily talked about, or they're big fat women with cankles. I love this channel, but yikes, it's weird. To which Bald actually replied, I have news for you. Men objectify every woman we see or meet.
Yeah, end it, shut up, Tay-Tay, baby.
Would fuck them or not. It's reality.
God.
If you think that is creepy, go ahead, but it doesn't change the facts of how men think, which had been commented on a video where Bald had stated this.
Argentinian team has some hotties on it. Next stop, Argentina on the world tour, I think. But I have no actual interest in watching polo. Although watching some Argentinian girls bouncing around on a horse might be fun, I don't know.
Any Argentinian people staying here? Any blonde Argentinian girls, you notice?
His outlook only became...
It would be funny if he was like, wait, there's no Argentinian women in this hotel? Okay, I'm leaving. This. It's so rare that you see people like this that have a YouTube channel and they're so unfiltered that they really just say anything they want on camera. Like, there's no way this character ends when he turns off the camera. If I knew him in person, it would so match up to what like he acts in videos, definitely. He will be one of those people that would just be like interesting to be around with, except, you know, horribly annoying after a while.
Although we'll have to come back to the topic of women later, as in the meantime he'd find himself in a totally unrelated controversy. During a video titled The Last House in the Chernobyl Village, Bald met a man named Collier who lived in a derelict forest house with no power or running water. The two struck up quite an unusual friendship, filming 6 different videos together during which Bald had an idea. He chose to launch a line of merch with Collier's face on the front, the profits of which would be given to Collier so he could increase his standard of living, and this seemed to work perfectly.
Recently, I had a t-shirt campaign, and I said I was going to raise some money for someone. And well, you guys bought the t-shirts, and I've got the money, and so I'm going to come here and I'm
giving nothing away. It's all mine.
Gave Collier a handful of banknotes, later clarifying the amount to be.
I left him with the equivalent.
Was he shaking? I can remember the first time I saw him in the video, like the first part of this Collier series. He wasn't this bad, but if he's like recording these like with years in between, probably got like a bit older, worse.
Pinpoint exactly how much money was given. In my eyes, Bald has only given him 4 banknotes, which would be roughly 400 rubles or $200, which meant he only gave away the equivalent of 20 t-shirt sales. Not exactly a year's pension, is it, Bald? Although another post made things even worse. Bald failed to give Collier any of the estimated 10,000 money from the t-shirt campaign, apart from the $300 he gave on camera. It turned out that Collier wasn't even aware that he'd been filmed, and these kind people showed him the videos Bald made about him. In Bald's defense, giving $10,000 to someone with a severe alcohol addiction might have also been a terrible idea.
Don't spend too much of it on alcohol, but Collier's his own man. I just hope.
If it has his face plastered on it and you have like 10 videos about him, you know, hand over the rubles.
During an upload titled Would You Ride the Night Train to Chechnya, Bald was back to talking about women by stating,
hopefully at some point in the night at some stop at Chechnya.
I'll forgive all of this. He takes like a trip around Romania, which I'm pretty sure he did. In which Moldova, I saw. But let's see how close he gets.
As a result of calling Chechen women chicks, Bald was forced by the Russian government to apologize for the insult. But with comments forcing someone to make an apology for a random flippant joke. Chechnya sounds like a ridiculous place. A nice healthy reminder never to go there. Most people understandably thought that Chechnya was being ridiculous. However,
okay, in Russia, I feel like that's one of those countries where Putin would have you like just waterboard in like some ex-KGB room, you know, in a bunker. So he got off pretty lucky with just like an apology in broken Russian. There's no way his Russian is, you know, GT.
Russian Space Center. British YouTube star with more than 3 million followers is arrested near Russian spaceport in Kazakhstan. British YouTuber ordered to pay fine after Russians detain him at spaceport. Bald had actually filmed the day all of this went down and would upload it under the title "This video caused an international incident." He and a female accomplice had snuck into an old Soviet spaceship hangar without realizing the military had been notified, who were on their way to arrest them.
Alright, that's your own fault. With locals, they'd probably get arrested, but with foreigners, yet they have no reason to like not put a bullet in your head.
Happened only 32 days later. He'd uploaded a new video titled "The Journey is Over," in which Bald explained he'd been unexpectedly arrested on the street and was forced to leave the country.
I'm being kicked out of Russia with immediate effect. Banned.
You're telling wait a bloody second. You're telling me when I travel around Russia calling women chicks and trespassing into government property, I'm gonna get kicked out? What?
In the months prior, Bald had called Putin crazy and shown his support for Ukraine, the reason for which was explained during a released interrogation video. He'd state, when you have a face on YouTube, if you want to earn money, you need to say what people want to hear. If you don't, it will be a problem for you. Every YouTuber received an email from YouTube where they said you may only talk about the situation in Ukraine from the side of the Ukrainians. You can't tell it from the Russian point of view. If you do this, then you won't be able to earn money from advertising on your channel, with the audience again taking Bald and bankrupt.
That has to be bullshit. Oh no.
He clearly just speaks what is needed to get out of that situation. That's what
Oh wait, no, of course. I forgot. This is in the context of him being like interrogated by the Russian, you know, government. So of course he's gonna make shit up about like why he supports Ukraine.
Has never experienced an encounter with Russian authorities. He's an absolute absolute genius and a certified legend. Besides, being thrown out of Russia meant he could go to some new countries, where in Syria he'd posted
it's time for the Middle East, come on.
reigniting an old point of criticism, discussions about women. Me before visiting Syria thinking, must be hardcore there, probably going to be a week of no alcohol and must not look at girls on the street or else
No birds, no beer.
Reality of Syria. Guys inviting you to bars to drink and constantly telling you to go to Homs to see how hot the women are there. My kind of country. Just a few months prior, Bald had posted another.
He seems like the kind of guy you'd see like in War Dogs, like when Jonah Hill has to go to Syria to buy some AK-47s.
Adventures. We'd love to repeat those escapades and film them, but of course YouTube only allows for watered down versions of trips. Hashtag censorship sucks. Bald seemed to imply that during his trips, he'd seen more than just the local tourist spots, and as a result a subreddit was created titled Bald and Balder Dossier, deeply investigating Bald and Bankrupt's history.
Is that meant to be like Dumb and Dumber, like a reference?
Alias Vorkuta, which was the name of a small Russian town that Bald had spoken fondly of in an article.
No, it's a place in Call of Duty Black Ops.
Also confirmed that Vorkuta was his alias, and you therefore might be wondering why is this important. Well, Vorkuta, who later changed his name to The Fantasist, was a prominent member of the pickup artist and sex tourist website Rushv Forum, where prior to beginning YouTube he'd talk about wanting to head to places completely off the track, where he could find provincial seedy nightclubs with puke-stained carpets and suburban housing estates full of disenchanted and hopeless girls, in which his white god status is maximized even more. Bald also talked about faking his level of wealth in photos such as these, which helped him to sleep with an 18-year-old last summer when he was 38, with this video titled Dirty Secrets and Double Life of Bald and Bankrupt Exposed, giving a pretty good summary of Bald's 1600 forum posts.
Oh my god, dude. I'm gonna pause the video for a second. He's definitely one of the people that goes on 4chan and like writes like Shakespearean paragraphs about like how he wants you to travel to Europe, you know, just have sex. I'm surprised he stopped at Eastern Europe and maybe the Middle East. If he wasn't, you know, caught and, you know, unfairly taken off YouTube, you know, he would definitely go to the places like South America or Asia, definitely. There is a bit of like that power trip of just being like a nice white man that he loves when, you know, he meets a girl. So that can only go tenfold if he goes to any place that isn't white. I mean, he said like white god status, but he's going to Eastern Europe and most people there are already white. But maybe the only limit to him like staying only in like Eastern Europe is the language barrier. I feel like if you know Russian, you can like get around most of Eastern Europe, which probably explains why, you know, he went to so many countries. But it would be funny to think like the reason why he spent like a year or two learning Russian is to only pick up like teenagers in like Eastern Bloc countries, just for that sole reason.
And when someone commented on one of his videos, big sex pest vibes, he can't help but bear creep around any woman and it's been the same for years. Bald responded by stating, a sex pest for years? That's absolutely unfair and untrue. I've actually been a sex pest for decades. Bald was seemingly exercising.
It's so funny like how much of a British geezer he is.
Like saying terrible things about you. I suppose every YouTuber has their own techniques to cope with that mentally. But for me, like embrace it, love it, and amplify it. When someone says like you're the biggest wanker in the world, you say, that's right, mate, bigger than you'll ever know. Even worse than you think I am. What are you gonna do about it?
And while this works pretty well 95% of the time, doubling down on a sex pest comment was something he probably should have just ignored. It didn't help that he was also accused of
I like a comment, can't cook the
and while an article on the incident confirmed that Bald was acquitted,
did he mean to say the other way around? Can't the cook or what?
Appalling. Combine this with a forum post where Bald bragged about his Rohypnol game and another joke on his Instagram reading, if you see this man, do not approach but call the police immediately. He is wanted in connection to a crime where Rohypnol was used. It's not hard to see why some might think that Bald's a bit of a creep. On top of this, Bald had suspiciously changed his name from Benjamin Rich Swift to a more simple Benjamin Rich, the reason for this being explained by Bald and Bankrupt himself. He'd state, I owed £30,000 on credit cards and bank loans here in the UK about 5 years back. There was no way I could pay it back. I decided to change my surname to my mother's maiden name and change address.
Yeah, it's funny. He didn't seem like kind of like a rich guy, so I guess credit card fraud would be the only way he'd get like his harem of Eastern European girls.
Traveling bro, which is exactly what he'd do until he'd post an Instagram story in Germany. Only been in Europe 2 minutes and already been ripped off. £15 for 3 mouthfuls of pasta. Germany, just like the UK, must be a failed state. They need their old leader and some Hugo Boss suits back in power to sort things out. After Bald posted that to his Instagram story, he'd receive a text from his mum reading, "Glad you arrived back safely but not sure about your comment with the food," prompting Bald to post another story reading, "My mum always worried when I'm trolling with based comments. Mum, get off Instagram, you're too old. In fact, if I find you on here again, I'll start posting my collection of George Floyd memes," which on the internet of course ruffled some feathers.
Dude, how old is this guy that whenever his mom is like, okay, I'm not sure about that Nazi joke, he's just like, oh, my bloody mom won't shut the f up, so annoying. Like that's something a teacher would do, you know, not a 38 or 40-year-old man.
Also showed extensive support for Andrew Tate. He was slammed by NFKRZ, despite the two collaborating together in the past.
Red pills, circle jerkers, digital nomad, expat, bold and bankrupt looking ass.
And as a result, it seems their friendship completely disintegrated.
I randomly accidentally found out that Bold actually blocked me on Instagram completely.
They would have been two good diplomats between the UK and Russia.
From his Instagram, leaving one single image with a pretty heartfelt caption. "As I wind down my YouTube career, I'm looking forward to slowly going back to being Ben from Brighton once again, instead of Bald from YouTube.
He would never accept that mundane life.
I should remove as much of Bald and Bankrupt from the web as I can." Interestingly, that had been posted on the 7th of July 2022, which was the same day as when his forum posts were first exposed on YouTube, almost certainly explaining his sudden desire to quit. Impressively, however, Bald and Bankrupt soldiered on and continued uploading high-quality content, possibly realizing he could only look to the future, as he had no way of changing his past. However, in a recent interview with Joe Fish, Bald and Bankrupt stated that he'd pretty much completed his travels.
I've been very fortunate, and I can say that I've pretty much ticked off everywhere I truly want to go. I'm more interested now in learning more about my home country than I am about seeing those other places.
And while Bald has definitely had somewhat of a bumpy history, him quitting YouTube would be a depressing end to a channel loved by many with so much future potential.
Exactly. A depressing end for like all 10 people that were just like as fat and bold and British as him. There's no way any young kid would look at that and be like impressed, you know? Like no kind of person would be interested in like seeing like miserable Eastern European like cities that have had like a huge economic collapse, apart from just seeing like what kind of women they can go and like pay pennies to maybe. The only video I remember fondly of like seeing from him was like the one we went to Moldova, and that was decent, I guess. Like he interviewed like a couple of like older people that were alive when Moldova was communist, and they said like, yeah, it was better back then. But I'm guessing I skimmed through the wrong video or just got lucky, but he definitely didn't go around asking like young women like how much it would cost, you know, for a night with them. So he might have scheduled to like on one day he records a video like for the week, and then for the next day he can do whatever he wants in that country. Because apart from those videos, he definitely wasn't frugal with his money. Like whatever he could spend it on, he would just to like either for like travel or just food, because it didn't matter to him. I'm guessing he had a method on like how to avoid like all the debt piling up on his card, so you can just like keep on doing this cycle of just more and more money being owed they won't pay back, to the point that maybe like just staying in Europe is his escape from having to go back to England and actually pay it off, which £30,000 seems so much. And he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would actually, you know, get a job apart from YouTube and, you know, pay it off, unless he used the revenue from some of the videos, which did pretty well. I mean, at 1 million views that would give you at least enough money to maybe over time pay it off, but I see no way of this guy actually going back to UK. He would for a week, but just, you know, get so bored of it and miss his harem of, you know, young teenagers that you just go back. And to be honest, the only way I want to end this video just with this comment right here, I scrolled on by accident. Average UK dude on vacation. I like that comment. I know I've made that joke like 20 times in this video, but it's a good joke. I'm proud of it. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one.